Today we're going to be continuing with my Fairly Odd Parents collection series. If you've been following me on Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram, you'll know that I have loomed this quite some time ago. And I wanted to point out that I am going to make a couple of changes. I'm not happy with his eyes using a Sharpie to make the pupils, so I'm going to make a couple of changes there. And without further ado, let's get started. For Cosmo, we're going to be using a standard rainbow loom in the offset position. And the bands we're going to be using are yellow, green, skin tone, white, and black. We're going to start with his arms, and we're going to be using white for his shirt and skin tone for his hands. Again, everything will be double banded. We're going to start at the 6th peg from the bottom, and we're going to put 2 white bands 4 times going down the right side. And then we are going to put 2 skin tone bands, and we will cap this with a skin tone band wrapped 3 times around the peg. We need to do the same thing on the other side for the other sleeve. So we're going to take 2 white bands and go down 4 times on the left side. And again, 2 skin tone bands for the hands. And we will cap this with a single skin tone band wrapped 3 times around our peg. And we can go ahead and loop this, reaching inside our cap band. We're going to grab the 2 bands and loop them forward, forming a teardrop or raindrop shape. And we're going to do that for both arms. Again, making sure we grab both of the bands and looping them to the peg above. And we can take these off the loom and place them on a holding hook. And we can set this aside. And next we're going to do his ears, and we need skin tone bands. I'm going to take a skin tone band and wrap it 3 times around my hook. I'm going to take another skin tone band and double it and slide these 3 loops onto that double loop band. I'm going to do that again, a single skin tone band wrapped 3 times around my hook, and we will slide that onto a double loop skin tone band. And that gives us our ears, which we can also put on the holding hook, and we'll set aside. Next we can do the nose, and we want to take a single skin tone band and double it and wrap it 3 times around our hook. And then we want to take another skin tone band and double it and slide the bands from our hook onto the double looped band. And this will give us his nose. And I'm just going to leave it here on my hook so I remember to attach it. And now we can move on to the other attachments. We'll start with the crown, and we're going to use yellow bands. When I have to take apart something that I've done, I save the bands that are double looped, even though you typically can't really use them again, but I save them for when I have another project that may need a double looped band of that color, so which we're going to use in a few minutes. So for the crown, we are going to wrap a single yellow band 3 times around the hook, and we are going to thread those onto 2 yellow bands 2 times. That's 1. And 2. And we need to secure this end with a slip knot. So I am going to double loop my slip knot and pull that through. What we need to do now is take another single yellow band, double it. We're going to reach inside our cap bands and we're going to form a slip knot with this double loop band. And you don't want to pull it too tight because you're going to need to position it at the side of the band. And we're going to do that again with the center teardrop. Take a single yellow band, double it. We're going to place our hook inside all of those teardrops. And we're going to form a slip knot in this section as well. And we want to pull this slip knot towards the top. These are going to work as our peaks of the crown. And the same thing with our cap band. We're going to slide it up around and to the top. And don't worry if yours looks a little wonky like mine does, because Cosmo is a little wacky anyway, so it'll all work out in the end. So this is our crown and we can set that aside. And next we're going to work on the tie. And again, I'm using bands that I have used on previous projects because I need to double loop all of these bands. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a single black band and double it. We're going to wrap it around our hook 3 times, and we are going to thread this onto 6 double loop black bands. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you want to pause the video, we need to do this one more time. A 6-link double loop chain of single black bands. And I'll meet you back here when you're done. Okay, so we should have 1 6-link double loop single black band chain on our holding hook and another single black band double loop 6-link chain that we've just done, and this we are also going to put on our hook. We're working on our wand now, and this second black chain that we've made is for the wand. So what we need now are yellow bands, and we are going to take a single yellow band and double it, and we want to attach 5 double loop yellow bands to this one band. And however you find that easiest, if you want to place this over 2 pegs and use that to attach your 5 double loop bands, you want to go inside one side of this and form your slip knot. Or if you find it easier to just leave it on your finger and do it that way, you can do that as well. Again, we will take another yellow band, double it, I think I need to do it this way. and form a slip knot on the original double loop yellow band. So we're just going to go all the way around and attach 5 double loop single yellow bands. That's 3. 4. And 5. Okay, and what we want to do now is we are going to put our hook through all of the ends of our slip knot bands, the loops that are formed from our slip knot, and you want to make sure that you catch all 5 of them. Well, there's going to be 10, but all 5 of your slip knot bands you want to grab the ends and put them on your hook. And that will leave you with a loop at the bottom. And what we want to do is take a single yellow band and double it and carefully thread it through all of these loops. It's going to be tight, so be careful. And we want to form one more final slip knot. And what we want to do is take one of our black links, and we are going to take our yellow bauble that we just made, and we are going to turn this into a slip knot on the end of this link. So you want to pull your yellow slip knot band through. We're going to pull the bauble through, and then we are going to grab the other end and form our slip knot. And we're going to tighten that up. And then what we're going to do is put the end of our black link through, and we're just going to twist this and put the end of the black chain through again, and we will slide that up and tighten it onto the end. And we can slide the yellow bands all the way up and off the black bands, and this will give us our little wand for Cosmo. And we can set that aside. Next, we are going to do his feet, and for that we're using black bands, and we need to put 2 black bands on the last 2 pegs on the bottom on the right, 2 black bands on the last 2 pegs on the bottom on the left, and each of these we will cap with a single black band, wrapped 3 times around the peg. And we're going to loop these. And we can set these aside on our holding hook. And next we're going to make the wings, and for that we're using our clear bands. And what we're going to do is we are going to take 1 clear band and put it 3 times going down the right side. We're going to go back up and put 1 clear band from the first peg on the right to the second peg in the center. And then we're going to go down 3 times with 1 clear band. And we're going to close this off with a clear band from the 5th peg down in the center to the 4th peg on the right. And we'll cap this with a single clear band wrapped 3 times around the peg. And we can loop this starting in the center. We're going to reach in and grab the top single clear band and loop it over to the right. Next, we're going to loop up the center and over to the 1st peg on the right. And now we can loop up the right side to there. And we're just going to leave that on our loom for now because we're going to make the 2nd wing. And we're just going to repeat what we just did. We're going to take a single clear band and go down 3 times on the right side. Go over from the top band, down 1 peg to the left, and then down 3 times in the center pins, or wherever on your loom you're doing these. And we are going to go over from the center to the right, and we will cap this with a single clear band wrapped 3 times. And again, we can loop this starting in the center. We're going to reach inside the cap band, grab the top clear band, and loop it to the right. And then we're going to loop up the center. And then we will loop up the right side. Oh, sorry, I need to loop from the center to the right, and then up the right side. And we are going to remove this 2nd wing from our loom. And we are going to take this and attach it to the 1st peg on the right on top of our other wing. And then we are going to take a single clear band and we're going to form a slip knot. We're going to reach inside all of these bands, grab our clear band, pull it up through, making sure we've grabbed all of the bands, and we will form our slip knot. And now we can remove our other wing off the loom. And with a little bit of stretching and tweaking, this will give us our wings. And you will end up with your wings, and we can set these aside. And our last attachment is going to be his bangs. And for that we're using green bands. And we are going to take one and wrap it around our hook 2 times. And then we will thread this onto 3 single green bands separately. So 1, 2, and 3. And we will set this aside on our holding hook. And now we're ready to band our loom. So we're going to start with his hair. Everything will be double banded. 2 green bands going from the 1st peg in the center to the 2nd peg in the center. 2 green bands from the 1st peg on the left to the 1st peg in the center. 2 green bands from the 1st peg in the center to the 1st peg on the right. And then we will go down the left side with 2 green bands 2 times. And the same thing on the right. We're going to put 2 green bands 2 times going down the right. And next we can move on to his face with skin tone bands. Again, we're using double bands, and we are going to put 2 skin tone bands 3 times going down the center. And for the neck, I like to use 3 bands, so we'll continue down the center with 3 skin tone bands. And then we'll go up to the left and put 2 skin tone bands, continuing down the left side, and 2 skin tone bands on the right side. And we will close off the face with 2 skin tone bands from the 4th peg on the left to the 5th peg in the center, and 2 skin tone bands from the 5th peg in the center to the 4th peg on the right. And now we'll move down to the shirt, and for that we're using white bands, and I'm going to put 2 white bands 3 times going down the center pin. And we'll move to the shoulders on the left with 2 white bands from the 6th peg in the center to the 6th peg on the left. And then we will continue down the left side with 2 white bands 3 times. We're going to do the same thing on the right. 2 white bands from the 6th peg in the center to the 6th peg on the right, and 2 white bands 3 times down the right side. Next, we can move on to his pants, and for that we are using black bands. And we are going to put 2 black bands continuing down the center pin, and then we will move to the left and put 2 black bands 4 times going down the left side. And we are going to do the same thing on the right. 2 black bands, continuing from the white bands, and we're going to go down 4 times. And we can close off his pants by putting 2 black bands from the 4th peg up in the center to the 5th peg on the left, and 2 black bands from the 4th peg in the center to the 5th peg on the right. And this we will cap with a single black band wrapped 3 times around this center pin. And now we're ready for our holding bands, and we are going to take a single green band and put it around the 1st peg on the left and the right, and the 2nd peg in the center. We're going to take a single skin tone band and put it around the 2nd peg on the left and right, and the 3rd peg in the center. And skipping the 3rd peg on the left and right, we're going to put a single skin tone band around the 4th pegs on the left, right, and center. Moving down to the shirt, we are going to put a single white band around the 7th pegs on the left, right, and center, and the 8th pegs on the left, right, and center. And we are going to put a single black band 1.5 times around the 9th pegs. And what that means is we're going to go around all the pegs once. We're going to cross our band over and go back over just 2 pegs. And those are our holding bands. Before we can add our attachments, I said I was going to change the way that I had done the eyes. So what I'm going to do is take a single green band and double it. And I'm going to take my E-beads, tuck the end through my band, and slide an E-bead. And I'm using one of the smallest E-beads that I have. And slide that E-bead down onto the green band. And I'm going to place this eye on my hook. And I'm going to do that again. Take a single green band and double it. Thread my floss through. And I'm going to slide the bead down, catching the end of the floss so that I can slide the bead onto the green band. And I'm going to put this on my hook. We're just going to attach this to a single skin tone band. And you can use bands for the eyes if you don't have beads, and you may do a better job of adding pupils with a marker than I did. But we can just go ahead and attach this to our loom. One side is going to go on the third peg down on the left. We're going to wrap one band up around the third peg in the center and attach the other end of our band to the third peg down on the right. And now we can add our other attachments. His bangs we're going to attach to the top peg in the center. His shoes we will attach to the bottom peg on the left and the bottom peg on the right. His tie we are going to attach to the sixth peg down in the center. His ears will go on the second peg down on the left and the second peg down on the right. And his arms we will attach to the sixth peg down on the left and the sixth peg down on the right. And his crown we are going to take and find one of your teardrop shapes and attach it over the first peg on the top on the left, and the other end, leaving one teardrop, the other end you're going to attach around the first peg in the center. And his wand and his wings we will attach when we're done. And now we're ready to loop, so we will start in the center and we're going to reach inside our cap band and grab the top two bands, and they will go over to the right, and the next two bands will go over to the left, and we'll continue on the left, reaching inside our foot attachment, grabbing the bottom two bands and looping them forward. And we'll grab the next two bands, and we want to make sure that we're forming a teardrop or a raindrop shape each time. We want to stay inside the holding band, and we're going to grab just the bottom two bands and continue up to the shoulder. We're going to do the same thing on the right side, reaching inside our foot attachment, grabbing the bottom two bands and looping them forward. Again, we're going to go all the way to the top, making sure that we're forming our teardrops as we go. Now we're going to loop up the center, staying inside our holding bands. And when we get to the top, what we want to do for the arm, we're going to grab the bottom 2 bands and then we want to reach inside our tie and grab, well, we can actually put the tie on our hook, and we are going to loop these 2 from the shoulder, from the 6th peg on the left to the 6th peg in the center. We're going to do the same thing on the right, grabbing the bottom 2 bands and looping them forward. And now we want to reattach our tie. I find it easy to pull these 2 bands off the peg and give it a little tug. They will stay there. I want to reach inside the tie bands that are on that 6th peg in the center, and I'm going to grab the 2 white bands, pull them up through, and loop them over the peg in the center. And that will make sure that our tie stays on the top. Next, we can reach in and grab the 3 skin tone bands of our neck. And we can loop those forward. And that's a little bit tight, so I'm going to wrap my hook around that peg to loosen the tension. And next, I want to reach in, grab the top 2 bands at the chin and pull them to the right. The next 2 bands I'm going to take to the left, and the last 2 bands will go straight up in the center. We're going to go over to the left, reach in and grab the bottom 2 bands and loop them forward. The next 2 bands as well. And we're going to go to the top peg in the center, grabbing just the bottom 2 bands and making sure that we're forming our raindrop shape. We're going to do the same thing on the right side, staying inside our holding bands and looping these forward, forming our teardrop shapes, and making sure we have both bands. We're going to loop again to the top peg in the center. We're going to continue up the center, and this is where we attach our nose. So I'm going to slide this off my hook and down onto those bands and loop that around the 3rd peg from the top. And now we can finish off with our last 2 sections. I'm going to reach in, grab the bottom 2 bands, loop them forward, and the last 2 green bands, and loop them forward. And now we're going to double check that we have looped all of our bands. And we can add our slip knot band, which I'm going to use a single green band. I'm going to reach down through this center peg and grab a hold of my single green band, and I will pull it up through, and I will form my slip knot. There we go. I'm going to give that a little tug. And now we can remove this from the loom. We'll start at the bottom, and we'll carefully take this off. And remember, when we get to the neck and the tie, there are a lot of bands there. So you may want to put your hook inside the peg and roll your hook around this peg to loosen the bands so that we don't stretch them. and the rest of the bands should come off fairly easily. We'll go to the top. And now we just need to do a little bit of stretching and tweaking to make him look appropriate. I'm going to poke his eyes to the front. I'll adjust his ears. I'm going to go down and adjust his feet by putting my hook into the first teardrop and just tugging it a bit to the side to define his foot a little better. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, putting my hook inside the first teardrop, not the cap band but the teardrop, and just tugging that to the side to give him some feet. Next, I'm going to bend my tie so that it will stay down a little bit. We're going to fix that when we attach the wings, but we can adjust his arms. I'm going to put them down at the side a little bit. I'm just going to tug on that top teardrop and pull it down. Same thing on the other side. I'll grab a hold of two of the bands of the teardrop and pull it down a little bit. Now we're going to attach a mouth, and I'm going to take a single white band and put my hook from the front to the back in the mouth area. Grab a hold of that white band and pull it through to the back. Again, I will put my hook from the back to the front in the general mouth area. Grab a hold of the other end of my band and pull it through. We can secure this with a C-clip, and I will just slip it over both ends of that white band. And then I can remove my hook. And we can adjust his mouth. And now to attach the wings, I'm going to use a fine crochet hook that I have, and I'm going to go straight down through the tie and through his shirt to the back. I'm going to grab a hold of this clear band and I'm going to pull it through to the front. And now I want to reach in and go in a different spot from the back to the front. And I'm going to grab a hold of that clear band again and pull it through to the back. And what I want to do is open this up, tuck my wings in, and if it's loose like mine, you can cross it over and wrap it around the wings again. And then you'll just need to adjust the wings so that they're sitting where you want them to. There we go. And I've bent his arm at the elbow a little bit. And to attach the wand, all I'm going to do is take my wand. I'm going to put my hook down through the top two, not straight through the teardrop, but the top two sets of bands on either side. And I'm going to stretch that. I'm going to tuck the end of my wand down through the gap. And once I get that through, I can pull it down a little bit. And I will adjust his arm again. And the reason you want to go through the top two bands of his hand instead of through the teardrop is you want him to hold the wand properly and not through sideways. A little more tweaking here to fix his legs. And his wings. And we just need to secure the slip knot band, and I'm going to pull it to the back, and I'm just going to thread it through a couple of random spots in the back to tuck it out of the way. You can also attach it to the C-clip that's there. Fine hooks come in great for most things, but if you're trying to grab a hold of a band, it's not always the best. So I've just tucked that slip knot band out of the way. I'm going to tweak his bangs a little bit. And there you have it. This is Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and let me know. Post a picture if you've tried to make this. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got lots more coming up. I'm still working on the Big Brother cast, the Stampy Cat Longnose. I have some more Archie to do, and as well as more Fairly Odd Parents. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.